Okay, let's dig into this. We're doing a deep dive today, really focusing on managing AWS environments, specifically using VMware Tanzu Cloud Health.
And we've got some interesting source material for this one. It's actually prep content for certification. The VMware Tanzu Cloud Health Platform Administrator for AWS, exam code 6V0-31.24.
Right. And just to be clear, our goal here isn't exam prep for you. We're using these questions, these explanations, as a kind of structure, a shortcut, really.
Yeah, a way to pull out the key functions, the real benefits of Cloud Health, especially for AWS users, get those nuggets of knowledge.
Exactly. Why is this thing valuable if you're trying to get a handle on your AWS environment?
And the source mentions the basics about the exam associate level. It's in English, multiple choice, takes about 90 minutes. But like you said, we're kind of hijacking that format.
We're using it as our guide. We'll walk through some concepts that these questions bring up, look at the explanations provided in the material, and see what we learn about Cloud Health for AWS.
Ready? Let's do it. See what the source material tells us.
All right, first thing, a really basic but huge issue for lots of companies using AWS. Multiple accounts, like tons of them sometimes.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So according to our source material, what's the number one thing Cloud Health tackles right off the bat in that situation?
The source highlights centralized cost visibility across multiple accounts. That's presented as a primary benefit.
Okay, centralized cost visibility. Makes sense. But why is that such a big deal? Don't AWS tools give you some visibility?
They do, but often within the silo of a single account or maybe a payer account structure. What Cloud Health does, based on this source, is aggregate. It pulls billing and usage data from all those different AWS accounts together.
Okay, so it breaks down those walls between accounts.
Precisely. Imagine trying to manually stitch together cost data from, 50 different accounts to get one clear picture. It's messy.
Yeah, sounds like a nightmare.
So the source emphasizes this aggregation gives you that single view, and that improves budgeting, helps with allocating costs correctly, like which department spend what, and lets you spot ways to optimize costs across the whole organization.
Right, not just finding savings in one corner.
Exactly. Multi-account cost visibility. That's the key takeaway from the source on this point. It's foundational.
Okay, that makes total sense. See everything first. But then once you can see it all, how do you organize it? You've got all these resources, EC2, S3, databases. How do you group them in ways that actually mean something to the business? Like, by team or project?
For that, the source points directly to a feature called perspectives.
Perspectives,
Yeah.
okay. How are they different from just, say, using AWS tags? I mean, people use tags for that sort of thing, right?
They do, and tags are often the basis. But perspectives, according to the explanation in our source, let you build layers of business logic on top of those tags, or other metadata.
Business logic.
Meaning you can group and filter assets based on things like department, cost center, environment dev, prod, staging, or even specific applications. It allows for a more structured, often hierarchical view that reflects how your business is organized, not just the raw technical tags.
Okay, so it's like creating custom lenses to view your cloud resources through.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. The source says this enables tailored reporting and governance.
Can you give a quick example based on the source description?
Sure. So using perspectives, you could generate a report showing the total AWS spend for just the marketing department's projects last quarter, even if the resources are scattered across different accounts or use different tags.
Right, regardless of the underlying technical setup.
Exactly. Or see the cost breakdown for your production environment as a whole. It helps connect the technical cloud usage back to the business structure. The source flags this under perspectives and business metadata.
That sounds really useful for accountability. Okay, let's switch gears a bit. Automation. The source brings up cloud health policies and mentions they can take action, especially around budget thresholds. What kind of actions are we talking about?
The source says policies can send alerts or stop services.
Whoa, hang on. Stop services. That's more than just a notification.
Yeah, it's definitely more active. The explanation clarifies that policies can be set up to, yes, send notifications, the heads up, but also to take direct corrective action.
Like actually shutting things down.
The examples given in the source are specifically stopping or even terminating instances if, say, a budget limit is hit, or maybe some other defined condition is met.
Wow. Okay, that implies you need to be pretty careful setting those up.
Absolutely. It falls under what the source calls policy automation and budget control. You're linking automated actions to your rules, financial or otherwise. Requires planning.
No kidding. Okay, shifting again slightly. Security. Does the source material mention anything about identifying security gaps in AWS?
It does. It points to a specific report, the Security Risk Assessment Report.
Security risk assessment. And what does that actually check?
According to the source, it looks at your configurations, permissions, and how well you're aligned with compliance best practices. Basically, it scans your AWS setup.
So it's hunting for potential weak spots.
Exactly. The explanation says its purpose is to highlight vulnerabilities and security risks within your environment. The knowledge point is simply Security Risk Assessment Reports.
Good to know there's something like that built in. All right, let's circle back to cost optimization, clearly a big theme. What about waste? Resources that are running but not really being used, or they're way too big for the job.
The source brings up right sizing for that.
Right sizing. Okay, and how does CloudHealth figure out if something needs right sizing? Is it just guessing?
No, the explanation says it analyzes usage patterns. It looks at the actual historical data, CPU, usage, memory, network traffic, all that stuff over a period of time.
So it's data-driven.
Right. And based on that actual usage, it then recommends actions. That could be resizing an instance to a smaller, cheaper type, or maybe even terminating resources that show little or no activity.
And the goal is?
The source states it clearly. Eliminate cloud waste and reduce costs. It's tied to the knowledge point right-sizing and cost optimization.
Makes sense. Identify the fat, trim it. But what about just staying on top of spending before it gets out of hand, like proactive warnings?
For that, the source mentions budget alerts.
Budget alerts. Sounds pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, it's straightforward. The explanation says they notify users when their spending approaches or exceeds a specific limit that they've defined within CloudHealth.
So you get a warning shot, basically. Hey, you're getting close.
Exactly. It helps prevent those surprise bills and improves, financial governance. The source labels this budget alerts and notifications. Okay.
We've been talking AWS almost exclusively, but lots of organizations use multiple clouds these days. Does CloudHealth play nice with others, according to the source?
Yes, absolutely. The source material explicitly confirms multi-cloud support.
Oh, okay. Which other big players are mentioned?
The source lists AWS, obviously, but also Azure and GCP, the big three.
So the same kind of visibility and management we've discussed for AWS, you can get that across Azure and GCP too, all in one place.
That's the benefit highlighted in the source material, yes. Unified management and visibility across those platforms. They call it out as multi-cloud platform support.
That's a pretty significant value proposition for companies juggling multiple providers. Okay, let's get slightly technical for a second. How does CloudHealth actually get all this data from AWS? The billing info, usage metrics, resource details, what's the mechanism?
The source is very specific here. It requires an IMM role with appropriate permissions.
An IMM role, okay, not like an access key and secret key.
No, the explanation implies the IAM role method is preferred for security. You set up a role in your AWS account, and CloudHealth assumes that role.
And what permissions does that role need? Does it need to be admin?
Definitely not admin. The source stresses it needs a policy-granting read-only access. Crucially, read-only.
Right, so it can look but not touch.
Exactly. And the source confirms the types of data it needs read access to are billing, usage, and that resource metadata we talked about.
Got it.
The knowledge point is IAM role integration with cloud accounts. It really underscores how that secure connection is set up.
Makes perfect sense. Secure, read-only access is key. Okay, reports. We mentioned the security one. The source also talks about an executive summary report. What's its purpose? Who's it for?
The source states its purpose is to give stakeholders a high-level view of cost and usage.
High level. So not for the engineers necessarily.
Probably not the primary audience. The explanation says it provides those top-level insights on spending trends, usage patterns, optimization potential, really tailored for, executive decision makers, business unit leads, people who need the big picture without getting lost in the weeds.
So it translates the nitty-gritty cloud data into business speak.
Pretty much. The source calls this executive summary reporting.
Okay, one last area. Controlling access within CloudHealth itself. If you have different teams or users, how do you make sure they only see the data or use the features they're supposed to?
The source points to the concept of role-based access control, or RBAC.
RBAC, right.
And the explanation specifically mentions the superadmin role in the context of setting this up.
So the superadmin is the gatekeeper, essentially.
Yes, according to the source's explanation. The superadmin has full privileges inside CloudHealth. That includes the power to create other roles, assign specific permissions, and define those organizational boundaries like Maybe this team can only see cost data for their projects or their department.
So they configure the RBAC framework within the platform.
Exactly. It's how you enforce who sees what and who can do what inside CloudHealth, aligning it with how your organization actually works. The source point is role-based access control, RBAC. Thinking about that last point we discussed, from the source material, the one about needing that specific IAM role, the one with read-only access just to collect the basic data billing usage resources from AWS.
What about it?
Well, what does that really tell you? It kind of highlights how absolutely critical it is to get the fundamentals right first, like the secure access setup. You need that foundation solid, using things like IAM roles correctly before you can even begin to leverage all the powerful stuff like policies or right sizing or fancy reports. It all has to start with getting that secure data connection in place. Makes you think about prioritizing that initial setup, doesn't it?